What is up, people? We are back with a review of Big Data today. This book is a book by Victor Meyer-Schonberg and Kenneth Sukir. I don't know, how do you pronounce that? So Victor is a University of Oxford professor. He teaches internet governance and regulation, and this Kenneth guy is an American journalist covering technology and society. So these guys came together and they've created a book about data, looking at what is small data, what is big data, what its implications are, what is the technology, and what is its impact on our society. So it's quite a cool topic that they talk about. It's a bit of a dry read. Like, there are some very interesting case studies in here. For example, they open the book up with showing how Google is much better at predicting epidemics and flu outbreaks, looking at search terms, and can very quickly and easily identify these just from search terms that people use for the symptoms of this flu. So it's something to show you that you can use big data to really uncover a lot of information. Okay, but that being said, I don't think you're gonna love reading this book or anything like that. It's gonna be interesting, but it's going to be dry, real dry. The book is basically broken down into two parts. The biggest part is about big data, and it introduces you to the world of data, its history, what we're currently doing with it, its benefits, its drawdowns, where we could go with it in the future, and introduces you to topics like artificial intelligence, machine learning, what is big data, what is small data, what is statistics, and how we've used it on this data. The second part is taking all those things that they've taught you about and putting it, showing you how it's executed in a real life use case. And the use case that they do is education and learning, specifically e-learning. So they look at like Khan Academy, Coursera, Udemy, all these online learning platforms and how they're using big data to improve their products and services. So first part of the book, they're looking at data and basically why we have it, what we use it for, and how we've used it historically. And historically, just because data's been quite inefficient to store and process and analyze, inefficient in terms of capacity and costs, we've had limited use of that data and what we can interpret from it. So what we would have done is, because we kind of don't have enough, there's not enough efficiency to get the whole population of data, we would look at samples of that data. And how do you ensure that the sample accurately represents a population? In statistics, we basically just randomly sample. So we create random sampling to increase the accuracy of the interpretations that we can get from the data, and that's small data. And through improvements in technology, we now have big data, which allows us to efficiently and cost effectively access all the data and do a whole lot of analysis, powerful analysis that we couldn't otherwise do affordably. So big data basically says if you're looking at small data, which is a sample of a population, now we actually can give you the whole population, and that is better data for you. It's the most accurate because you have all the data necessary, and it leads to new insights that you wouldn't otherwise have known. Okay, and then they take all of this and they'll show you how it affects an industry of education. So for example, Khan Academy uses all the data that it gets from its users to better improve its educational services by looking at when users will rewatch a certain segment of the video, and that will highlight to them that this is a topic that people might not be well aware of or familiar with, or there needs to be better understanding of this, and that can highlight to them, hey, listen, let's put more content based on this topic, or how do we help these guys better understand this. They also look at customizing learning. So current education is like this cookie cutter approach where one size fits all, and they're showing how e-learning can go into a place where it's actually unique and bespoke to the individual, and that helps reduce dropout rates, it increases familiarity and understanding of the material being taught, and it helps to better upskill the labor force. So it's quite an impactful and powerful thing. There are of course downsides to all this data in terms of your privacy and in terms of what that data can be used to do, because they can accurately predict, for example, they give you like a use case of how things can be like a Minority Report, where there could actually be this like artificial intelligence that can very accurately predict if you're going to commit a crime and what crimes you could commit. So is there like a place where we'll eventually use data to punish people for something that they could do in the future, things like that. They bring up these kind of discussions within the book, and it's interesting to have a thought about it. I'm not too worried about those downsides. I think there's a huge upside in the data side, and we can use data to benefit ourselves, right? So definitely be into big data and see where you can fit into that world, but from a very practical point of view, you need to start using data to help benefit yourself. And you can do this with software that can determine how much time you spend on social media sites, on YouTube, on Google, things like this, so that you can track yourself and see how much time you're spending on it, when you're spending this time, and get a sense of your history for use of internet. Another thing that I do, that's not really big data, but I have diaries. So I have my diary that I just write in, and that just has like an overview of my day, and that reading my diary can then help me understand what thoughts I've been having recently, how I've been feeling emotionally, physically, how I'm progressing in my work, my friendships, my relationships. And so that's a cool piece of data for me. And another thing is then my to-do lists. This is something I do every day, and it's cool because when your phone doesn't drop down while you're trying to record a video, it's cool that you can get this to-do list and reflect on it and say, okay, of all these things that I've wanted to do, what did I actually execute on? What did I not execute on? How important is what I did execute on? How important is what I did not execute on? So you can start to get a big understanding and awareness of who you are, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and if it's something that you want to continue to do. So you can use data in simple ways like diary, or you can use data in very complicated ways like analyzing your life, your sleep, your food habits, your internet habits, all of that. And then you can go further by being like a data scientist and analyzing complex data sets for companies, where you can provide services such as reports on customers or opportunities, and just basically creating that data analysis and selling that off, or trying to capture data that you can then sell off to other companies that will do analysis on the data. So it's exciting stuff. I think it's a book you should read. It's not an amazing book to read. Very good insight though. And it gets you familiar with data. It's not intimidating. They do a very good job of explaining complex terminology and removing that intimidation between a normal person and computer science or information technology. So thanks for listening, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. See you next week with another review.